I'm so glad to be here taking part of this International Biofocus Online Congress sponsored by Patricia Valerio Institute. Thank you very much, Dr. Patricia Valerio and Dr. Banu for the invitation. I'm very happy to share with you some of our practice in prevention of malocclusion with babies. And we are going to talk today about the whole of pediatric dentistry in preventing malocclusion. How the pediatric dentist can prevent malocclusion from pregnancy to the establishment of the deciduous occlusion. It's well established nowadays that the pediatric dentistry is experiencing a very special moment. Caries is a totally imaginable disease nowadays, and we are now following and facing new challenges like malocclusion and orthodontic problems. But the qualified pediatric dentist, along with a health team, pediatrics and other health team workers, can together intercept orthodontic problems as soon as it is observed. It's a new look. We only recognize what we really know. So if we open our mind, if we open our view for new forms to treat and prevent malocclusion for babies, for children, we will be succeed in this challenge. In addition to dental caries control, it is important to monitor the growth and development of the jaws for a good establishment of the primary teeth occlusion. So it means that we cannot only face teeth, we need to observe the child as a whole. So we need to open our mind, not only focusing on the tooth, but focusing on a child as a whole, not only as a child, but the family and the whole environment that the child is inserted. And it's all about a transdisciplinary team. It's very important that we integrate our knowledge with the gynecologist, the pediatric, the otorhinolaryngologist, the speech therapists take part in all or most of the treatments we realize, we deal, and not only the speech therapist, but the physiotherapist as well. And with the family, according to the maturity of the children, and the pediatric dentist, the orthopedics and the orthodontics, we analyze together what's going to be the best treatment for the child at that moment. And thinking about the need to integrate all this knowledge for health promotion and for preventing malocclusion, that we subscribe the book Orthopedics and Orthodontics for Deciduous Dentition. It's a book that was written with the goal to prevent malocclusion from different points of view, from different health professionals, and the first edition is already sold out. We are now with the second edition in Portuguese, in Spanish, and even in English. So it's going to be easier right now to spread the knowledge also in English language. So a new look to malocclusion prevention. Since pregnancy up to the final eruption of the deciduous teeth is really very important, since we know that malocclusion observed in a deciduous dentition is a risk factor for malocclusion in the permanent dentition. So the diagnostic has to be done according to the age, and the procedures gonna be done according to the age as well. Nowadays, we are already including the dental prenatal care to help motivate mothers to prevent malocclusion. Oral health construction begins before the birth, but it's all about education and information. We are living today the great technology evolution, and it is possible because of this to follow the pregnancy and the development of the fetus as if it were in our hands. So the fetus phase can be observed, and the characteristics of the feature of its features can be a way of motivating parents to pay more attention to the craniofacial development of the profile after birth. So it's a very important form to motivate parents not only to take care and to monitor the growth, the facial growth, but also to motivate them for the breastfeeding. So as we can see in this video, the fetus is the same one intrauterus and after birth. So if we have the possibility, the opportunity to observe it during pregnancy, it's gonna be something that we will be familiar just the moment the birth occurs. See? With the 3D and 4D technology, it is possible to observe the fetus feature, as we can see in this image. This can motivate parents to take care and pay more attention to the future facial characteristics, and thus help us professionals of pediatrics, dentistry, orthodontics, orthopedics to achieve the goals in prevention malocclusion, in the establishment of good functions. So look at this case report. This is a patient of mine that at an early age, we could observe that the labial and lingual tonus weren't good. See, she had also some kind of asymmetry. And when we talked to the mother about this problem, she told us that his child already has this problem during pregnancy. She could also observe that problem with the tongue during the exams, the ultrasonic exams during pregnancy. So we already know that the section of the amniotic fluid is physiological and very common. However, these images can motivate the parents to prepare the mothers to prepare themselves for breastfeeding, and to be aware to prepare herself for a succeed breastfeed. So this is the important clinical implications of observing the growing and the pregnancy, because the parents gonna be more concerned about the baby's face school and be motivated to breastfeed. Breastfeeding is really very important in prevention of malocclusion. We have some specific articles in research that showed us that the first orthopedic device is the breastfeeding. So it's really very important to establish this during pregnancy. Breastfeed can decrease the risk of malocclusion in the deciduous dentition. On the other hand, it is also important to improve breastfeeding during pregnancy, because babies that breastfeed optimally reduce the risks of developing class 2 canine relationship and posterior frostbite, as well as anterior open bite. So it's a nice strategy to prevent malocclusion, even if we start during pregnancy, informing the mothers to be that breastfeeding can be a nice device to prevent malocclusion. So the importance of this is that malocclusion in present in the deciduous dentition can be a risk of malocclusion in a permanent dentition. So we have to be aware of these possibilities, because if we sense the gum pads, the observation of the gum pads, the good relation between the gum pads, we are aware of this and promote a good relation at this moment, we assure that in the future, when the milk teeth, the deciduous teeth start to erupt, we're gonna have a nice incisal guide and then a nice position for the molars, which is gonna establish and keep the right relation, the anteroposterior relation. See? So if we monitor this since pregnancy, at birth, and during the eruption of the milk teeth, we can assure a good occlusion, a good establishment of the deciduous dentition, the deciduous occlusion. And with this simple procedure, we can assure too that the permanent dentition is going to be good, it's going to be functional and healthy. So once again, it's really very important that the pediatric dentist will start monitoring growth before the eruption of the teeth. Start monitoring growth, craniofacial growth, before the eruption of the teeth, up to the time the whole deciduous dentition is well established. And monitoring like this, we can for sure assure that the functional mastication and the functional occlusion of the deciduous teeth is going to be healthy. But what kind of actions we can recommend to the parents? As I told you, the first of these is breastfeeding. It's important to know the relationship between the gum pads. We have a very important research. This investigation was done by Klinch in 1934. It's an old investigation, but up to the nowadays, it is still up to date. And Klinch divided the mandibular, the types, the three types of relation between the gum pads. The most important one is the type 1 because it's the most frequent. So the type 1 is divided into subclasses, the subclass A and the subclass B. The subclass A has a slight recursion, a slight lingual position of the mandibular, and we have an open bite in the anterior region. The subclass B has a slight lingual position of the inferior gum pad with no anterior space. This investigation is reaffirmed with some new investigations like this one, which was done in 2012. It's a Brazilian investigation that observed the similar results that Klinch observed in 1934. So, if we follow the recursion since birth and monitor these, oriented the mother with the breastfeed, the proper position with the proper extraction of the milk, the whole physiology of the breastfeed will be succeed in with the advance of the mandibular jaw and to harmonize the relationship between the gum pads. So it's really important to monitor and orient the breastfeed at this moment. Let's talk about the mandibular protrusion problems and the suggested exercise and suggested device that we do in our practice. The influence, the inspiration for these procedures we took from our experience with speech technician in the neonatal UCIs and with the experience with dealing with the handicapped children. So the experience, the transdisciplinary experience and knowledge showed us that the sum of the procedures that the speech technician and physiotherapists do with the neonatal uses and handicapped children could be useful for us in preventing malocclusion. So therapy tapping or biofeedback is really nice, for instance, to keep open bite with the lips that are not properly aligned or closed. We stimulate with oral motricity and with a special technology or a special techniques that this motricity can be improved, and then the child or the baby can be stimulated to keep the lips together as an example of what are the things we can do. When we deal with biofeedback, we have a special computer program with electrodes that are introduced around the buccinador muscles, and the child is stimulated to pay attention to the program, and according to the movements the child execute, the movement of the plane, for instance, in this case is a plane, is upper or lower. And according to the movement she does, she's stimulated to keep the plane upper or lower. And this is a nice, a fancy way to introduce the exercises and to achieve the results we need in terms of orofacial-motricity. The same with the therapy taping, where when we put the tappings at the right position, at the right way, and according to the position of these, the child has a stimulation to keep the mouth open, for instance. This is a case report of a mandibular protrusion, and in this situation, the baby had the protrusion of the inferior jaw of the mandibula since very early age after birth. And the mother looked for attention, attention, and unfortunately she couldn't find. Everybody says to her that she need to wait up the permanent or permanent dentition or up to early mixed dentition. And when she found us, the first visit occurred in the middle picture when she already had the 4 incisors, the front incisors. And then we start the treatment at this moment. We first start the treatment, stimulate growth, and stimulate the right tongue position. One of the exercises we use is touching the incisive papilla region with the finger, with a spatula, with a cotton swab, even with a toothbrush, to stimulate the correct tongue position and also repositioning the jaw. The special way to proceed with the exercise is to insert the index finger at the papilla incisiva and pressure as much as the point to observe a small ischemia. At this time, we can also, at the same moment, pressure jaw, the inferior jaw back with the same finger we are stimulating the position, the pressure of the incisive papilla. So when we do this movement, we also improve growing of the premaxilla and retroposition the mandibula. So the purpose of these exercises is to promote muscle stretching, especially the stretching of the muscle fibers that will stimulate the growth centers of the muscle fibers and stimulate the jaw growth centers by making the sliding parts of the chin jaw retropositioning and correcting the protrusion and remodeling the mandibular position angle. It's easy to proceed. It's easy to teach the parents how to proceed with this sort of exercises, and it's very successful, very easy and successful when it's done in a very early age. So in this picture, the left picture, we can observe how the child bites the bananas before we started with the exercises. And on the right pictures, how the child bites the banana after the exercises. And here we can see the mother telling us that she was very happy with the results, and with the exercises she could observe teeth to teeth bite. And at this moment we change the exercises into another one that the child can do with some autonomy. And the exercises is to put the upper lip over the lower lip. If we can use the teeth as well, it can be done putting the upper teeth over the lower teeth. So after this period of time executing these exercises, we were succeed in the with the front teeth, the cross teeth. But what happens when the first molars start to erupt? The balance was lost. So, because the first molars cannot erupt at the same time, the four ones, one inferior to superior, the bite start an unbalanced situation, and then we had to start with another procedure to keep the balance, to keep the relationship between the upper and lower teeth. So at this moment, we took the impression, and with a model, we prepare a special device that we call a protractor device for premaxilla. So in this picture, we can see the models. The first molars just starting the eruption, and then with this special device with a true with unidirectional activation, we prepare entonces this device with activation that will promote stimulation of the growth of the premaxilla. As it is a genetic situation of class 3, our suggestion is to stimulate bone, not only change the inclination of the front teeth. So this is the way the child starts to bite after the device was installed. As the acrylic, the composite, recover the occlusal area of the molars, the balance easily was achieved, was returned. And then we keep on the activation every day, a quarter of turn. And after a month, we could have a very good result. The device is glued with ionomer, how do I say, the glass ionomer. And after the period of a month, it can be removed because it's very quick. The activation is really very quick. And the whole treatment between the exercises and the utilization of the device took 8 months. and the child keeps on the establishment of the treatment with a mastication orientation. So we prepare small pieces of apples, for instance, in a gauze, and we orientate the bilateral mastication. And with the bilateral mastication, the child is going to have the establishment of the anterior-posterior position, and the whole system is established. So we orient how to bite, how to masticate bilaterally, and also keep with tongue exercises. And at this exercise is one of the exercises she's gonna do to establish the relationship between the upper and the lower arc. So as soon as we could, took a cephalogram. Of course, the maturity of the child does not permit us to take a cephalogram before a certain age. So as soon as we could, we took the cephalogram, and after a year, we took another one, and we still are monitoring the growth, and she is developing properly and and with some exities. She's well done in the perform. We are performing quite good. Let's talk about the retrusion of the mandibular and the exercises we can do in situations of the retrusion of the mandibular. This is another case report when we can see this child of 2 years and 3 months of age with an important retrusion of the jaw. Her mother observed that because she had experienced an orthognathic surgery in her family. So she was concerned about the problem with her young girl. And the exercises we start with this girl was insert the index finger under the tongue area and support externally with the tongue. And we gently pull mandibula forward up to the point tip to tip. Gently force, gently push forward up top to top. Okay, the purpose of this exercise, once again, is to promote muscle stretching, especially stretching of the muscle fibers that will stimulate growth centers of muscle fibers and stimulate the jaw growth centers by making the sliding parts of the chin jaw advance by correcting the distal occlusion and remodeling the mandibular angle. So this is how the mother was executing the exercises. It is very important to ask them to send pictures or videos how they are proceeding with the exercises so that we can correct and manage properly if something wrong is being made. So it's important to ask them for pictures or videos. So after a month of these exercises, we could observe an important change in the posture, an important change with the stimulation of the new position for the inferior jaw, for the mandible. So at this point, once again, we changed the exercises into another one that the child can have an autonomy to proceed. And it is, in this case, to put mandibula forward and to touch the upper lips with the inferior lips or with the inferior teeth. So this is something that the child can do alone. And then we orient the mother to another exercises with pieces of, in this case, pieces of apples. So observe that at the beginning she couldn't do this sort of this sort of movement, but after the exercises and according to the orientation of the exercises, she starts to bite with the front teeth. So this is the pictures after 6 months of the exercises, and the change of the posture is obvious, very important, as we can see in this picture. Well, 6 months after these exercises, we can observe the cephalograms, how different it is from the beginning of the exercises and after this period of exercises. So this is when we first start, the picture when we first start the treatment. Of course, we couldn't take the cephalogram in this moment because the nature of the child doesn't have the nature for that. And as soon as it was possible, we took the X-rays. It's this case report is described in this book, Mulher Odontopediatra, with all the details. So to treat or not to treat, the decision to treat or not to treat in the deciduous dentition cannot be unilateral. It has to be shared with the whole family, with the transdisciplinary team, and according to our experience and according to the nature, to the collaboration of the child. We have to remind you that the orthodontic or orthopedics treatment can be done at any age of the individual, of the person. So it's not an emergency. We are going to do this as soon as we observe the problem, but according to these three criteria. Of course, what we have in the literature right now is that we do not treat in the deciduous dentition. We have to wait up to the mixed, the permanent dentition, the early mixed dentition. But the concepts are changing. The investigations, the new investigations and the new criteria are changing this condition to start as earlier as we observe the problem. And these new concepts are the great epidemiology of malocclusion, the World Organization, the World Health Organization are identifying the malocclusion as the third most important dental problem. So the epidemiology of malocclusion are changing how we face this problem. Besides that, the quality of life, how this impact the quality of life and the aesthetic is very important, because malocclusion has a great impact in quality of life of children and adolescents. So the new child that we are facing now, that are the alpha childs, the alpha kids, also have a different form to see themselves and their health. And they are new childs that wants to be healthy, that wants to have a good smile as soon as they can decide for that. They have a lot of information, they can achieve a lot of information, and they have a lot of opinion. They are concerned about a lot of things very early. So this is the whole of pediatric dentistry. We cannot observe an image like the left one and do nothing. We have procedures, we have the devices to use, we have exercises to use, we have procedures to use to do transdisciplinary in a situation like the left one. We cannot just wait up to the time that the right picture is established and that it's going to be a risk condition for the same malocclusion in the permanent dentition. So this is something we need to start facing, and we need to start doing something to prevent problems in the future. So as I told you, the epidemiology of malocclusion is increasing. So this is something that we have to do something. We have to promote prevention of malocclusion. As I also told you, there are scientific evidence that quality of life impacts negatively uh, children and adolescents. So malocclusion impacts negatively children and malocclusion. On the other hand, malocclusion does not impact negatively preschool children. So why not treat malocclusion when there is no impact? Why not treat malocclusion when they are motivated to use devices, when they are motivated to start the treatment? Of course, diagnostic is the most important thing, and we need to treat with the technique we are familiarized with, and we have the qualified, and that we are qualified to proceed to execute. So we need to identify if the problem, the malocclusion, is because bad function, bad position of the teeth, or skeletal problems. We have to differentiate between the three sort of problem, or if it is a combination of them. So diagnostic is the most important thing. We have to qualify. We have to be aware to the new information, because we can promote health smiles to our child. We can, since very early time, promote a nice and functional smile. So this is what I would like to talk to you this moment. Many thanks to everybody. If you have any doubt, or if you have any question, or if you would like to share more knowledge, I'm open to that. It will be a pleasure to exchange knowledge. And these are my contacts. I'll be very happy to receive any of your contacts to share knowledge and information. Thank you very much.